Hey guys, in this video, first we're going to fix the input issue we have when we hold the button and open the chest or the loot bag. And after that, I do have a list of other small bugs and issues that I also want to fix. So for the input, the reason why it is happening is because once we open the widget with one of the buttons, like E for example, when it's open, it will run this on key down event and it will think that the key is down, so it will continue executing these functions that we have set up for it. And we want to prevent that, but we can't prevent it with flashing the input or anything because it still counts as the key is down. So instead we have to rework it a little bit. And I don't know if you noticed, but we also have this issue for the inventory, but we are preventing it with the flip-flop. But this is not the best way to do it, because if I were to put the print string here when I'm closing the inventory, and here now I open the inventory with I, watch the corner, I close the inventory, and I do have two hellos. So I'm basically running this event twice, and that is because the first time I open it, and then when I'm closing it with the I, as soon as I close it, it will execute this again. So first time I'm basically running this, it will run this print string, and the second time, as soon as I close it, it will execute again, but luckily we have a flip-flop, so it goes to close side and it will close it again. But obviously it's running it twice for nothing. So first we're going to fix it in a chest. In a chest blueprint, what we want to do is change this input mode, and I'm going to do set input mode game and UI. And the widget in focus will be the widget that we're creating, the loot container. We don't want to flash the input, that is very important. And now this won't prevent player from moving. So once we have the widget open, we will be controlling the player. And to prevent that, we will just disable input. Target needs to be the player, but we don't have player reference here, so we can from the controller get controlled pawn, and that will be the target, and the player controller will be the controller. Then connect this back, and we also don't want to do set is focusable, we want to remove it. And now basically once we set the input to game and UI, we will disable the input for the player, so we can set up the input that we want inside the widget. So to do that, go to loot container. We will remove this on key down completely. And here where we have take all items or take items, we're going to just search for keyboard event E. And on pressed, we're going to connect it here. On this one, we're going to do keyboard event R, or whatever bindings you are using. And to close the widget is keyboard event F. And now this will still cause some issues, because here on the set input, this macro, we are not returning the input correctly to the player because it's still disabled. So here we want to remove flash input again, and before we remove it from the parent here, we want to enable input for the player. So enable input, enable input, I spelled it wrong. I won't find it here, so get it from player controller, just enable input, and then disconnect it from the target because the controller needs to be in controller. And we do have player reference, so we can just connect the player reference. And then one more thing will happen, and that is once we remove it from the parent, all these bindings are still counting, so this will be executing. So once we close the widget and remove it from the parent, when you press E on the keyboard to try to pick up some items or anything, it will just be running these functions here inside the widget, even though it's removed from the parent. What we need to do is collect garbage. And as you can read here, it deletes all unreferenced objects, keeping only reference ones. So we have removed it from the parent, it's unreferenced, and it should be destroyed. It literally has some function like the input is still working, but we want to collect the garbage. This is not recommended to do it after you remove from parent all the widgets, because it obviously takes some time to collect all the garbage, but it's good to have it at least on some places. So this is the perfect place for it. We'll remove the garbage. And then one more thing in the event graph. On these keys, you want to consume input, remove it as well. Because what will happen is the collect garbage will actually prevent that, but what might happen is that when you close the widget, this will be consuming the input and your player keys won't work the same ones. Okay, so here, remove this consume input. Compile and save. And now let's do the same thing for a loot bag. So we can actually copy it from the chest because it's the same. So from here, copy this whole thing, go to your loot bag BP, and here remove it, paste it here, and then here we'll change the inventory to loot inventory, and rest of it is the same. Compile and save. And now let's see how that actually works. So I got this chest, I'm holding E, it doesn't pick it up anymore, but if I press E again, it will take it now, and that works fine. I'm going to next chest, I'm going to press R, and it works fine. This one, I press F, all working. If I just try to hover, it's working completely fine and picking these items. If I go to this one, hold E, nothing happens, it's not picking up anymore, and I press E and it picks up. Alright, so that's a nice and easy fix as well, but it took me a while to figure it out because the input is honestly really terrible to set up. But now we can remove the flip-flop from the inventory as well. So in the player blueprint, remove this, and here we need to again change the input mode. So set input mode game and UI. Interface reference goes to widget in focus. We don't want to flash the input, and here we want to also remove this is focusable, because if you set is focusable, it will still straight away start picking up the items, so that's why we're removing it. And from the here, disable input anywhere, and target is this time self, because we are in the player and the controller goes to controller. And once we close the inventory, I'll remove this hello, and after this, after input, we're going to enable input. And player controller we have here. Compile and save. Now in the interface, we do need to set up the input as well. So just somewhere here to keyboard board event I, and we will call player reference close inventory event. Alright, now if you play the game, I press I, opens inventory, I press I again, it closes it, but then actually it doesn't. So see, this time it didn't reopen, and that is because I'm consuming input here. So make sure this is not set to consume input. I'll show you in a minute how to do it with enhance input as well, because I know some of you are using it. So now if I press E, I can just keep doing it. That's fine. And then we do have it also set up in Trader. So let's go to NPCs, Trader Blueprint, and in here we do have this flip-flop on interact. We remove it, we connect it directly. Here it will be set input mode game and UI. Widget in focus and flash input. I just remember, I think I forgot to remove this input from here, from interface as well. Just remove it on key down. And in the trader here, let's move this down, we don't have enough space. Set disable input, disconnect from target, this goes to play controller, and player reference we don't have here. Actually it's a trader, so we do have it in a parent in an NPC, so just get player reference and connect it here. And now just copy the player reference, and here we will enable input. And play controller we have here as well. Alright, compile and save. Did I remove flip-flop? Yeah, I did. So now in the trader widget, blueprints widgets, trader widget, we're also going to remove this input on key down and just search for keyboard event E in this case, and we will get a trader reference and close trader widget. Compile and save. Now if you go to trader, press E again, and once again, so I can't reopen it once I have it open, and that is because I have not removed this consume input. Compile and save. Alright, this works now, but if I open this slider widget and press OK, now I can't close the widget anymore, and that is because we do have a functionality in slider as well. So in the slider, in the graph, go to event graph, and we do have this on cancel, we do have macro setup. I don't know why I didn't make this part of the macro. Remove these two, go to set input interface, remove from parent. I'm going to optimize it here as well. Set is focusable, just remove it. We do have game and UI, so that is fine. And then go back to event graph for this input trader. Also remove this, remove from parent. I don't know why one of them was game and UI, this one is UI only, so set input mode game and UI. This one we don't need, and widget in focus is trade inventory icon, don't flash input. That should be all. Compile and save, and now we are using it here. You can remove from parent. And why are we not using macro here? I made it really poorly here, I apologize. So this one is set input trader, just copy this macro. And then where else? Input on key down, this time we're keeping it because we need it for like left and right arrows for our slider. But here, as you can see, just remove this, remove from parent. Now compile and save. Let's test it out in a trader first. So I open this, I press OK, I press E, it will close the trader. I press any other button, it will close the slider. I press E, it will close the trader. So that seems to be working. And in the trader drop function, I'm going to drop this item, press cancel, let's say, I press I, closes the inventory, drop item, I drop something, okay, press I, it will close it, and press any other key, close the widget, close the inventory. Cool. So everything's working perfectly fine now. And what we can now do is, I'm going to show you how to do it with enhance inputs. because yeah, that is a little bit slightly bit different here, but not much. So blueprint for enhanced input, some of you might be using it already with like for controllers or something, but in a third person you do have input by default. So go to actions, let's create new. I do have this interact, I'm going to delete it. Now right click, just type in input action, so we're going to call it IA, input action underscore whatever you like. So I'm going to do interact, so instead of my E. In here don't change anything because there is some functionality that you don't want to be messing around with. And then in the backend input you do have this IMC default, and here you will set it up for your input. So interact, and you set up the key. If you want another key, you will do here one more, and then you can do, I don't know, gamepad something, gamepad left, and these two keys will be for interacting. And for now I'm just going to do E, save it, and then instead in the player blueprint, which are now closed, here you will do in action input, I think it's first action input interact, yeah, IA interact. And so here on, you wouldn't do it on triggered, that's not pressed, you would do it on started, and then on completed, that is basically released because it completed, and you would do connected here to on release. And then you would also have to just copy this part and do it, let's say, in the trader. So widget, trader widget, and in here you would do enhance input. So pretty much the same. Started only, and then I think it should work for a chest as well. Let's see. So if I'm holding it and I release, it will release, and if I open it, it works pretty much the same way. Trader works the same way. You just need to know which ones to connect. So started is basically pressed and completed is released. So that's it for those of you that are using enhanced input. And now, yeah, I think that is all. If you obviously notice something that is not working correctly, let me know. But let's move on to the other small issues that we have. So I do have written that stamina bar. Right, okay, so when you start the game, you wait a few seconds, stamina bars appears even though I didn't sprint, and then it disappears, and that is because it starts the function once, always on the beginning. So let's go to our stats component. I'm going to right click, edit this, and in the event graph we do have this regenerate stamina, and as you can see we're checking if it's not equal to 0, so stamina regeneration is not equal to 0, so we will start it once and then we'll probably stop it because it's full, but it will make our bar appear. So we also want to do end boolean and check if the current stat, so get current stat stamina and get max stat stamina is not equal, because that means we are on full mana and stamina, so we don't want to start it. No. Oh, the bar still appeared. What have I done wrong? Stamina equals, not equal, so this needs to be not boolean. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, no stamina bar this time. So that is one issue. Then we do have a craft Now when if you were to craft some items, you don't have this crafting thing, it crafts straight away. You don't have the progress bar. So that is just because I have removed time dilation. And in the crafting, go to crafting widget, we do have in event graph the timer by event somewhere down here, and it's set to super low value, so it's basically instant. So you need to do 0.01 here because there is no time dilation. So once you go to craft something now, I don't have iron bars. Now you got the progress bar again. All right, what's another thing? Interact type. So for our chest, we want to say maybe open or something. So let's go to blueprints, go to interact type. Here we will add new one, which will be open. And we will use it for loot bag as well. Blueprints, third person, blueprints, widgets, and interact prompt. And in here, we want to just copy this part and connect from open to here. And this will just say open. So open chest or open loot bag. And now on loot bag, which we don't have open anymore. Where is it in items? Loot bag. I'm going to set interact type. Alright, okay, we need to do big and play because we're inheriting from the parent. So cast to interact type. Interact prompt, sorry. Cast to interact prompt. Get widget. Interact prompt. And set interact type to open. And in the chest, so we can close this, in the chest, you also want to set it to open, not pick up item, so open. That's it. Now when we play the game, and after it loads, we do have open here and open here. And one more thing we can do, so once we loot all the items from the chest, it could say empty, so we don't have to keep opening it. Most of the games have it. So for that, go back to interact prompt in the designer. Let's see, this is a rich text. We don't need rich text. We can just add normal text. This is 20 and size 30. So let's add this to canvas panel, anchor it to the middle, Control and Shift, and offset it by 50, which is behind or under the other text. From this rich text block, I can copy this font. So next to the whole font, just copy it and paste it here. And this will be bold italic maybe. And we will make it center. And it will say empty in a bracket. And we can make it red. Something like that. Now this one will be empty text. Make sure it's a variable and search for visibility. We will hide it. Compile and save. And now in the chest blueprint, where we could do this, we do have update inventory. So every time we update the inventory, we can check, so branch, if this one length is equal 0. And if it is, then we need to get the interact prompt. We can't get it as a reference from here. We need to actually get the set it up. We did set it up. Interact prompt reference. Okay, so get the interact prompt reference. Get empty text and set visibility. to visible. Do we need to hide it? I don't think so, because we won't be adding items to chests really or anything. Now, if I go to these little ones, I'll pick up all, it says empty. Maybe that should be smaller or light or something. I might make it light. So for the font, maybe change it to italic. There we go. Compile and save. Alright, what's next? Just wanted to do gold as a currency, because at the moment on gold it doesn't say anything. So we can do description. In items data table, in the gold description, and do currency. So now when you play the game and open this says currency, so it's not empty. And next one on the list, so round up the upgrade. Okay, so this is the thing that when you pick up some weapons, go to upgrade. Here on the upgraded item, we're not rounding it down to 1 decimal point, so there is plenty of them. Okay, and we have done the roundup somewhere already, I think in a crafting, but we just need to do it in a upgrade as well. So go to upgrade widget, and we do have a function, I believe. Set upgrade info. No, it's going to be in a player, and that will be upgrade stats. Get upgraded stats. Yeah, this is the one. So we're passing the stats and we're upgrading them by modifier, which is, what is this modifier? 1.1, so 10%. But after this, we can drag this whole thing back, and we're going to first multiply it by value by 10. Then we're going to round, just regular round. And then from this integer, we're going to multiply again. Oh, sorry. What do we do? Divide now. Oh no, multiply. Do multiply and right click, convert to float, and do 0.1. So first we increase the decimal point, then we round it up, and then we decrease by 1 decimal point, and then we connect it to max stat. Now this part needs to be done for the other stats as well. So here, connect it, multiply it, and then connect it here. Compile and save. Now pick up some weapons, upgrade. Boom, 7.7, 17.3, just 1 decimal value. All right, then we need to round up the experience on level up. So in the level up, we need to do similar thing here, but at the moment, if you're increasing experience needed to level by 20%, so 1.2, then eventually it's not going to be a full number. So we need to, after we have increased it, we need to round, and we will just return full value and connect it here. That way you won't be like 14 out of 14 experience, but actually you only on 13.9 and it doesn't give you level, so we'll avoid it. And then there is just one more small thing, and that is in where is it? In stats. In stats we do have set stats text, and here we do have a minus sign when it's negative, but it's already a negative value, so there is a minus sign. I haven't noticed it because it's so small that it just looks like a longer minus sign, but we do have two. So remove it from here, and remove it from here as well. And I think we might have another stats. Updated stats or something like that. Crafted item stats, let's see. Yeah, there is another one. So remove it from here as well, and from here. There we go. And that's all of the small ones. Last thing I want to do is organize this a little bit. So let's create one new folder, which will be for our structs and data tables, because I want them together. So I'm going to call this structs_dt, and there I'm going to transfer data table, this structs, data table, structs, data table, struct, all of these, and move them to this new folder. Then after, I can see we got quite a lot of components, so new folder, components, there will go conditions component, loot, stats, that is it. And also we do have a lot of enumerations, so right click, new folder, enums, and transfer all of these here, move here. And the last thing I want to do is this condition and interact, which is blueprint interface, so just interfaces. All right, load emitter we can leave here, or transfer it to items maybe. Yeah, that's fine. All right, and that's it. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. If you can, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Just one more thing I have noticed quickly is when you open this now, it loots the stamina potion, and that is because I'm using the keyboard E event here, and in the player I'm using interact, so it's two different ones, and it counts as two different inputs. So if you want to change it to enhance input, you have to change it everywhere where you got the keyboard E event. So if you were to change it here in the loot container to action input interact, and do it on started as well, then it won't be looting the first item anymore. Okay, so either use one of them, the keyboard event E everywhere, or use the enhance input everywhere.